Okay, so now it's clear that demons in the Old Testament have different names because they're probably different classes of demons. So you have things like Shedim. They're also called idols or lords. You got Serim. These appear as sort of he-goats or hairy ones. You know that old image of Satan of the medieval ages of a corn, half man and hairy? That's probably actually, the Hebrew Bible does talk about a being that looked like that. You got the Nephilim, idols. You got God, G-A-D, called the demon, just the demon. And the Rapha or Rephaim. Remember, that's another name for the descendants of the children of this Genesis 6 event. I want to focus on them because I believe they are these half-spirit things, part of this class of demonic beings. Rapha or Rephaim is usually translated in your Bible as spirits of the dead or shades. Sometimes they're called the dead ones. So these dead ones appear throughout the Hebrew Bible. But just quickly, Isaiah 14:9. See, you got Proverbs 2, chapter 2, and chapter 9, and chapter 21. And you got Job 26, verse 5. Which is interesting again, because in the Greek translation of Job, the Rephaim are called giants or mighty men, Giborim. Right, so there, just there, you have at least 4 types of these Shedim, Elim, and Rephaim or Rapha creatures. So these things meet, according to Isaiah, in arid, desolate places. Sort of bombed out places, if you will. Desert creatures are there in these arid places. They're not actual animals. They look like maybe those animals, but the Hebrew, like I just said to you, if you go to the Hebrew to any lexicon and you look up the words translated, for example, jackals, owls, and so on, they are those words used for demons. For example, the goats are Sirim, which is a he-goat, and you got the Rapha there. So these are nocturnal creatures that are portrayed as animals, but they're really demons. Another demon is called Lilith. Lilith is in a way important because she's a sort of vampiric creature. She's a bloodsucker. Vampire lore, by the way, has some truth. It might not be a real literal cyclops creature with 3 eyes, you know, the cyclops from Greco-Rome. But myths have some origin to it. So yes, the vampire thing derives probably from creatures like the Lilith. So this is International Standard Bible Encyclopedia. Yeah, so that's in relation to demons in the Old Testament. I agree with the ISBE. In the Old Testament, you will be hard-pressed to find, how would you say it, a literal account of demons. Even in the New Testament, with hosts. I want to look at the account in Luke 11, though. 14 to 26. This incident is chock full of extra-biblical echoes. So Jesus lived in a world, he didn't live in a vacuum. He lived in a world full of this type of stories. So then you got famous names, Justin Martyr, Tertullian, Origen even, talking about basically the point here being that BC, First Apostolic Age, and after are almost unanimous, I would say, that they're connecting these activities that Jesus encountered 3-4 times to, they're going back and saying, you know what, these were those giants, when they died, let's call it, when their bodies were destroyed, they still survived in this spiritual now state. So the giants, the tradition of the giants, and this tradition of disembodied demons, let's call them for now disembodied demons, are obviously, if not cited in the gospel accounts when it comes to demons, this understanding is in the gospels. We're hearing things like these demons are near tombs, near graveyards. Remember there was an encounter with Jesus with a guy near the tombs? These things descend into bodies, they influence them in such a way, hang around arid, weird places like graveyards. They are without bodies. The New Testament, I think, is clear that demons do not have bodies. They're not corporeal. They're not physical. They need a body. They need what I call a host. Every demonic account in the New Testament, they required a host. What do? It says they go around arid places, waterless places. By the way, in Jewish understanding, demons, their kryptonite, as it were, their weakness was water. So they go through desert-like places because they don't like waters. There's an interesting account by Josephus of an exorcist, quote-unquote, Eliezer, who used water to weaken or drive out a demonic spirit. They're without substance, says our last Christian writer, Lactantius. The reason why I may not sound, if I don't sound dogmatic on this, is because I do share the concern by some of my biblical Unitarian brethren to define demons as disembodied spirits, because we don't believe in immortal souls. I have this saying that you're nobody without a body, right? Now that's true for human beings. I'm still very dogmatic about that. The evidence is clear about human beings. But with these things, let's call them, I have to go with the evidence, especially obviously the gospel tradition. I hope this at least gives you food for thought, that we're dealing with not flesh and blood as such, but the principalities, the systems, and they're not just underground. They're here and they're in the heavens.